Hello and welcome to Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. I am Colred and we are up to episode 6 of the Call of the Arbiter animated series. We've watched the first 5. I hope you've seen those videos. If you haven't, maybe you want to go check them out. We not only watch the episode and react to the episode, we also discuss the lore. We read some of the in-game lore, the champion lore that's available as well, anything that applies to the episode. So what we're hoping to do is get to the end of this series by the time the last episode drops, or at least on the same day, which, as you can see down here, is in a day and 16 hours. We still have episodes 6, 7, 8, and 9 to cover before 10 drops. So we're going to be pumping these videos out, probably a few a day. Anyway, what I want to do right now is jump into the episode. This episode is... Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to click that. This episode is entitled Jizzo, which is one of the champions, one of the free champions that you get very early in the game. I think you get him as your second login reward champion. I believe that's the case. So this might actually be the first free epic that you get. So it's kind of interesting that they made him, a character or an episode about him. Obviously, he's a lizardman from the Lizardman faction, and the Sewers of Arnok are the Lizardman chapter or whatever you would call it in the campaign. And so that is the very first place they go, the champions go after Kaerok Castle. So does that mean that in episode 5, when they found the Arbiter's mask, that was in Kaerok Castle? Because that would be returning to Athel's birthplace, whether she knows that or not. And so we still have questions about do Athel and Gaelic know about each other yet? They've obviously met in the last episode. Do they know their history or not? We're going to have to see. And again, what's happened to Gaelic in all of this time? Because, a long time has passed since Athel was born. But now the 4 heroes are together and they've been given their quest to go find the Arbiter's armor and potentially, it seems like, resummon her back to the material plane, where she can have a more direct impact on the events that are going on, the corruption that's going on across Teleria. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the episode and, see what happens.
Find the guide in irons. He knows the way.
Wait, I already missed something. Find the guide in irons.
He knows the way. Yizzo, will you answer the call?
Okay, so they called him Yizzo, which is an understandable change from the name. We do have a little bit of background now about this opening scene. Let's go back and watch it again. I'm going to turn off the sound. So this portal that's being reconstructed may be the portal that we use to summon champions in the crystal. It looks a little bit different, but it's fairly similar. But here, Arbiter is corporeal. So maybe she's on the other side of the portal right now. And the portal isn't fully functional. She seems to reconstruct it at the beginning of every episode in order to interact with the champions who are on the other side. But when we see her on the other side, when we see her in Teleria, she's that blue, force ghost kind of looking thing, right? So maybe she's either trapped here or maybe, this is where she resides, but she doesn't currently have the power to project herself through. I don't know, but this is kind of interesting. I'm getting more and more curious about where she is right now, because here she's clearly in a physical form. Okay, let's keep going.
Will you answer the call?
This looks like Kaerok Castle.
No, please, I'm innocent.
The same dream, friend? What is all this noise at such an hour? Are you making breakfast?
Sketching.
Not that it would matter in my case, but would it not be easier to sketch in the light of day?
I never deny inspiration when it strikes me.
That is how you lost your hand. The guards, they talk.
I had a muse. But the Banner Lords did not take kindly to a lady of the High Court being friends with someone like me. They found my gifts to her, my art, troublesome. Tatsu?
I would get down if I were you.
Okay, so first of all, cool. The Lizardman is an artist, and he has a friend in the Bannerlords. Very interesting. Definitely another black sheep. And this seems to be the theme, right? We're collecting sort of people who don't fit into the molds of their society. And one of the things that the Arbiter said in the last episode is she was looking for people who could see things as they really were. So, you know, obviously the black sheep see differently than the rest of their cultures. That doesn't necessarily mean they see things as they really are, but at least they're capable of seeing beyond what's immediately in front of them, what they've been presented with as truth. And again, here we have another character, not a starter champion, but a character that in the beginning of the episode, Arbiter calls out and says, "Will you answer the call?" So, you know, Jizzo is being called to the Arbiter as well, and he's an artist. He sees differently, and you don't think, oh, the Lizardmen are going to be artists. Not that they couldn't be. Of course they could be. But, you know, we think of them as more animalistic, brutish, you know, aggressive, warlike. And here we have an artist. And then, of course, Tatsu, who is, I think, a new champion that's been introduced to the game and a very powerful one, is blind. So another champion potentially who sees things differently because she doesn't see with her eyes. So she has to see and perceive things with her other senses. So I enjoy that theme that's through all of the episodes. That's definitely the most interesting part of it so far. Let's see how it develops.
Do you know what this is?
Where did you get that?
So you do know. Where have you seen it before?
Only in a vision.
Can you take us there?
No.
That is the wrong answer.
Why would I trust a human?
Because it was her that sent us.
It seems we will meet again, friend. Our destinies are intertwined.
Don't know if that's good or bad.
We couldn't have taken a less scenic route.
This is the only way. Before we go any further, I am going to need a weapon.
I can make this work. How's it feel?
Interesting. I wouldn't do that if I were.
Oh boy.
To go now.
This way! Hurry!
Uh-oh.
The item you seek is here. This chamber is where I saw it.
It won't matter if those things find their way in.
Oh boy. There she is.
You were saying?
All right.
That was unpleasant.
It's no paintbrush, but I can work with this.
Welcome to the team.
Okay, so I'm gonna look back at this this scene because this was pretty cool. Right here. It's just terrifying, isn't it? Okay, so pretty cool scene. And yeah, we get to fight the spider boss, or they get to fight the spider boss in, you know, the story, which is very cool. So if we sort of get an idea of where the spider boss is located now. Also, there's, I mean, I don't know why the Arbiter's armor was on the Spider Queen's back, but it makes sense now that they had to fight the spider boss. Does that mean they're going to fight the other bosses too? Maybe. That would be kind of cool. I don't know that we need to see them fight all of them, but maybe that's how they go about it. Yeah. Now, I don't know where Kale and Elhain are. Maybe the group has split up and those two are pursuing a different piece of armor. That would make some sense. Yizzo, by the way, this occurred to me just now. So the company that makes this game, Plarium, is a Ukrainian company. And in Slavic languages, typically J's are pronounced like we pronounce them as Y's in English. So Yizzo would actually probably be a Slavic pronunciation of that name. So, you know, that makes sense that they pronounced it that way. I kind of like Yizzo. I kind of think that's cool. So I might switch my pronunciation of that particular character, even though I'm not going to switch my pronunciation of Gaelic, for instance. I'm not going to call him Gallic. But yeah, anyway, good episode. Good episode. That was fun. Let's go back to the game here. While the episode was playing, I was doing a little bit of Sand Devil's Necropolis there. Okay. All right. So we do have a new champion's lore to potentially read. Let's see if Yizzo has some lore. Now, he's in the Lizardman faction, and he is right here. Let's see if there's lore. All right, we've got some lore. Let's go ahead and read this lore. Yizzo was born in the sewers of the free city of Arnok. The Lizardmen in that so-called free city were in a miserable state after the Galen War, forced to work hard labor, shoved away into ghettos or sewers out of sight of the human overlords. They were little better than slaves. Yizzo himself grew into one of the biggest and strongest members of his clan, but much to their dismay, he didn't use his natural gifts to their advantage. While they clawed to secure a better position in Arnok's brutal underclass, Yizzo was fascinated with the discarded trinkets and accessories he found as he went about his petty labors. He became obsessed with the human world, constantly sneaking away from his sewer home to spy on the busy uptown marketplace. On one such trip, he saw a street vendor selling art, paintings and sculptures that the man had created. Yizzo, in that moment, fell in love with art. It was as though a muse had visited him and tapped him on the shoulder. He was changed forever. Yizzo went home immediately and began crafting with whatever tools he had on hand. Okay, so that's the origin of his artist kind of interest, artistry, his love of art. There we go. There's the origin of his love of art. Jizo locked himself away for days at a time. He melted down silverware and mixed up homemade dyes and paint. He began sneaking out of the ghettos at night to find more materials. Once he was almost caught, dropping one of his sculptures, a simple wood carving, as he escaped. A little girl found it and was taken with it. Seeing the admiration in her face was another turning point for Yizo. He began carving small pieces and leaving them for her to find as she giggled at each new treasure, sometimes leaving him food in return. They even spoke on occasion, exchanging a few words, though Yizo was careful to keep himself hidden. He learned she was often sad, despite her fine clothes and the rich quality of the treats she left him. Her companionship became a great boon to him, and helped him find his creative muse. One day, she found him as he was leaving her his latest creation. He quickly retreated to the shadows, terrified that his new friend would see him and know him for a monster. She found no monster at all. The little girl cared not for Yizo's appearance. She only cared for how his art had enriched her life. In that moment, the world became so strange, it was as if Yizo had slipped into a dream. One where he was a proud protector of an innocent child and an artist, free and respected. Yizo allowed himself to succumb to his fantasy a little too long. Inevitably, Yizo was caught speaking to her. It was then that he learned who she was, the niece of a banner lord. Upon the discovery of the lizardmen fraternizing with a member of the superior classes, wrath came down quickly. Yizo was tortured for his crimes by the city militia, but when he had no evil crimes to confess, they decided that he was a thief and punished him as one. They cut off his arm at the elbow and threw him in a cell. Even in captivity, Yizo pursued his craft. His tools were crude and his subjects bleak, but he painted still. His muse changed while he was in prison. Though he could not explain, he no longer dreamed of a world where he was free, but a mysterious figure, one clad in golden armor, calling out for help. Okay, so this is a little bit more of just a personal piece of lore, right? There's not a lot of background here about what's going on in the world, other than to show that the lizardmen who are in the free city of Arnok are in the sewers because they're kind of kept there, right? They're forced to work hard labor. They're shoved into the ghettos or sewers. They're second-class citizens, third-class citizens, and the humans are their overlords. It feels as if the Banner Lords obviously have influence here, even though it's a free city. It does say the free city at some point in quotes. Just says so-called free city. The so-called free city. So clearly, it's a so-called free city because only some people are free, right? Other people are not so free. The lizardmen are little better than slaves. So this seems to be another after effect of the Galen War, right? The Galen Pact, which is the lizardmen, skinwalkers, orcs, and ogrins, declared war, waged war against the Bannerlords. They lost, and now those factions and the descendants of the members of those factions who waged war are sort of in extended punishment, right? They're being persecuted. But it's still interesting because Yizo is able to see beyond the conditions that he lives in and imagine his art. And not only that, but help a young girl who is a human, who belongs to the faction that is oppressing his people. So clearly he has empathy beyond the normal situation. So cool. I'm glad they added him to the story. I like what they did with the character. It makes me look at him very differently. I still don't think he's a phenomenal champion. I think he's got a place in the game. He certainly does. But now, you're looking at his arm and you see the claw and the metal, and you realize he lost his arm as a punishment for a crime he didn't really commit. And that he's in fact, less of a warrior and more of an artist. So that's pretty cool. That is very cool. Okay, so again, I'm enjoying the episodes. I thought this one was really well written, no plot holes, which is nice, just more development. I still like to see the relationship between Athel and Gaelic described a little bit better, maybe see Gaelic's history. I don't know if we'll ever get that, but let's hope in the next episode we get to see what Elhain and Kale have been up to, and maybe they found another piece of the Arbiter's armor. Okay, so that's it for now. Definitely, please. Oh, let me do this. Let me remember to do this. Hey, look at that. I can do that. Okay, so definitely, please put a comment, in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. I want to hear what you think about the Call of the Arbiter series. What do you think about the lore? Is there lore that you've read from another source that is reflecting on this? Whether you've read, in-game lore about a different champion that maybe reflects on some of the events in the game, or have you read some of that limited lore that actually Raid has been putting out since it launched the game on its website and on its Facebook page and stuff like that, and you remember something that reflects upon the story and maybe where it's going, or, the background, the history of the continent? Okay, so thanks for hanging out. We're going to do another episode soon. I hope to see you then. Until then, have a good one.